What's going on? So my name is James Grage, and a little over 9 years ago, I started a small little sports nutrition company. And at the time, it was nothing more than just an idea, just a vision that I had. 9 years later, BPI Sports is one of the largest sports nutrition companies in the world now. So every day, we're shipping out to stores like GNC and Vitamin Shop and Walmart and Walgreens, CVS. Even had some cool kind of epic one-off experiences. We've had our billboards in Times Square, New York. I think as a business owner, that's always something that you always dream of, is seeing your company in Times Square, New York. Everyone in the BPI Sports building, not only are they talented, but they're passionate about what they do, and it makes it fun for me every day to come in. And I think that's what I really enjoy most about my job. I gotta tell you that I'm personally kind of blown away by the whole thing, because you'd have to understand where I came from. When I was younger, I always believed that unless you grew up in a house like this and went to an Ivy League school like this, wore some cool sweaters like that, the chances were probably slim to none of you becoming successful, breaking into that elite, wealthy class. Because I grew up the complete opposite of this. I grew up in a small little mountain town in Northern California, population 0. Grew up at the end of a dirt road and basically what was a log cabin. Grew up poor, and I always figured that was really because of the choices that my parents made. And so when I was younger, I was always determined that I would make better decisions that would lead to a better life. So when I turned 17 years old, and that's me, right at 17, I made a life-changing decision. And I decided at 17 years old that I was gonna move out of the house and drop out of high school. Now, I never said it was a good decision, I just said it was a life-changing decision. So fast forward a couple years, all my friends are graduating from college, getting their degrees, they got a nice bright future ahead of them, and I feel like my future is pretty bleak at that point. It was actually a low point for me at that point. I really didn't even know what I was gonna do with myself. The one thing that I had going for me, the one thing was the gym. That was the one place where I felt like I had some sort of control over my life. And in there, I learned basic success principles like goal setting, creating a plan, hard work, consistency, focus. And most importantly, I learned that the more I pushed myself out of my comfort zone, the more results that I saw. And I started to see results, and I started doing bodybuilding competitions. This was the very first bodybuilding competition I did. Don't look like much of a bodybuilder. But as I kept doing them, I kept getting better. I still didn't have a dollar to my name. Matter of fact, I was broke as a joke. I was on straight millionaire status. So at the time, I took the last $20 that I had in my checking account, and I swear to you, it was actually $21.63, because when I took the $20 out, that's what I had, is $1.63 left in my account. I put in gas in my car, and I headed to San Francisco, to the Bay Area. I had a job interview there. And this was my opportunity. This was that light at the end of the tunnel. This was that job that I desperately needed, because at the time, I swear to you, I couldn't afford gas, I couldn't afford food, I couldn't afford anything. So I needed this job. And that morning, driving to that interview, I didn't make it that day because I got into this car accident. So I crashed into a truck head on. I was doing about 70 miles an hour. I was speeding, he was speeding. We crashed head on. Split the car into about 3 pieces, broke myself into a million pieces. I was lucky I didn't die that day, but like I said, I did break myself into a million pieces. And as I sat in the hospital for months, here's a picture of me. This is about a week before I got out of the hospital. It took me months to learn how just to walk again. So I figured, hey, I got a clean slate. I got nothing going for me. I'm broke, I'm jobless, I'm literally broken. The one thing that I had going for me, which was being in shape, I didn't have anymore. So I figured, you know what? The best attitude I can have right now, I got a clean slate. So what am I gonna do? Well, I had a ton of enthusiasm. I figured if I could beat that, then I could beat anything. But the problem is I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what I was gonna do. And this is where dropping out of high school was really starting to haunt me, because I figured, what's a high school dropout gonna do? I don't have a college degree. I don't even have a high school diploma. So what am I gonna do? And I found a mentor. And this mentor shared something with me that I'm gonna share with you today, and it stuck with me all these years. And it looked like this, looked like a V. This diagram is called the turning point, and you'll see why in a second. So it starts with a goal. Set a goal for yourself, self-explanatory. Second step, enroll others. And I'm sure you guys have gone through this step before. You set a goal for yourself, you start talking to people, you start telling your friends, start telling your family, trying to get them excited and see if it's a good idea. Next step is you do a little bit of research. What else is out there like this? Is there another product like this, another company like this? And this next step is the critical one. This is called the commitment. And that's why this is called the turning point, because at this point, it changes directions. The commitment is a critical step here. Because as we go into the next step, which is planning, you see a lot of people want to skip that commitment. They want to bridge that gap there. Here's the danger in doing that. When you go from research to planning, which is really natural to do, is you're learning about something, you just want to go ahead and you want to start planning. You're excited about it. You want to start doing it. The problem is, if you don't commit to it first, you're probably going to talk yourself out of ever doing it, because when you start planning, you're going to realize that there's all kinds of problems that are going to come up. So it's important to commit first. So that's an important step. And the next is doing. Look, doers get ahead in life. Doing is a critical step. Now the next one, this is supposed to be reach your goals. And this is how the diagram went. I thought, hey, cool. All right, so I'm going to go about it. I'm going to set my goal. I'm going to enroll others. I'm going to go through this whole thing. Problem is, by the time I got to reach goals, I never reached my goals. I encountered problems. So what are problems? Well, that's a really generic way of saying mistakes, obstacles, roadblocks, misfortune, or just life, right? Life happens. The problem is, what's the difference between problems versus failure? Because for me, I'd encounter problems and I interpreted that as failure. I thought, well, this happened, guess it's not meant to be, I guess I can't move forward, maybe it's a better idea that I do something else. The problem is, problems don't mean failure. So if I have a path here on the left, path on the right, identical paths, set of problems, and the problems are identical. The person on the left, they decide that that problem is insurmountable, sorry, can't go any further, and that's the end of the line. The person on the right, same problem, same path, they simply make the decision to continue. And when you decide you're going to continue, you're going to find a way around it. So on the left, that's a failure. It's a decision. That's all a failure is encountering a problem and deciding that you're going to quit. It's that simple. On the right, that's called progress. So it really boils down to a decision. The problem for me is I was making the decision to quit. So why do some people quit while other people continue? And for me, what I realized is I didn't have a good strategy for dealing with problems. I had this cool V, but when I got to problems, I didn't know how to deal with it. So that's what I want to share with you. I'm going to share with you what I've learned through the years and what's helped me, because I'm the guy who's encountered problems. I've never found that perfect path to success. All I found is the way to mistakes and failure, one after another. And the problem is, every time it happened, I felt like I was spiraling down to ground zero again. So the first step is, one, recognizing that we're not back at ground zero. But the key step here is mitigating our emotions. Why do I say that? Well, because when problems happen, problems aren't what's causing the failure, but they're the trigger which we start thinking about all our fears, all the things that could go wrong. For me, I started thinking about, hey, I'm a high school dropout. Maybe I just don't have what it takes. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I'm not committed enough. My fears were getting the best of me. So we've got to be able to control our emotions. And I also lump ego into this, because none of us like making mistakes. It sucks to make mistakes, and it sucks to admit that we made mistakes, but it's okay to make mistakes. So we got to control our emotions, we got to control our ego. And that's the first step in being able to evaluate a problem. There's really two kinds of decisions that we can make. So on the left side, you got, this is kind of my diagram to show the difference between us as humans versus a machine. We deal with facts and feelings. And what comes out sometimes is a little bit jumbled up. Sometimes it clouds our judgment. Versus a machine, facts go in and facts go out. So sometimes we need to be a little bit more like a machine and just look at the raw facts, because you can't evaluate a situation clearly unless you can see it for what it really is. And that leads me to the next point, which is data points. So just like a computer, computers look at as many data points as possible, trying to go ahead and look at a situation and analyze the situation. So if there was an object between me and you guys, I'm going to see one side of it, like this. And I can think I see it perfectly clear, and I might want to make a decision based on what I'm seeing. The problem is I don't see the whole picture. And this is where it's important to get other people's perspective sometimes. Now, I'm not saying get their opinion, because sometimes their opinion is based on their own limited perspective, but it's important to get other people's perspective so you can get the big picture. So once we've mitigated our emotions, we've taken our feelings out of it, we're open-minded, we've looked at the situation for what it is, we go to the next step. And just like our original V, this is an absolute critical step here. We have to make distinctions. I tell my kids all the time, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to have problems as long as you learn from them. My son's sitting right here. True? Do I say it every day? Every day. It's okay to have problems and make mistakes as long as we learn from them. So we have to make distinctions. Which takes me to our next step. Just like in our original V, we got planning here. The problem is most people want to skip the step, go from collecting information right back into planning. But if you never make distinctions, if you never learn from your mistake, you're going to make the same mistake over and over and over. And most people in their life, hate to say it, make the same mistakes over and over, and they never make forward progress. So it's important, no, it's critical that you make distinctions. And to do it, you have to be able to evaluate a situation clearly. The next step, of course, is doing, just like our original V. And so, now what? Reach our goal? Come on. No, we've got more problems. You're always going to have more problems. And down we go again, and back up. But here's the thing that I learned. As frustrating as this can be, this up and down, feeling like we're never making progress, as soon as we start to make a little, that we're knocked back down. And this can be frustrating. What I learned is that success isn't on the vertical plane. Success is on the horizontal plane. And that without problems, you're never going to be able to move forward. I can tell you in business with BPI Sports, chocked full of problems, one problem after the other. But every single process that we have that makes us who we are today, that's created the success that we have today, came about from problems. Something happened and I said, oh my God, that cost us money. Oh, that slowed us down. That slowed down productivity. Oh, that hurt our relationship with the customer. Every time it happened, I said, that hurt. I don't want to make that same mistake again. What can I learn from it? How do we get better? Mistakes, problems, they make you better. They make you stronger. And here's the cool thing about it. It's perspective. At the end of the day, you can either look at problems and you can be afraid of them, you can try to avoid them, or you can embrace them and recognize that problems are simply part of progress. And what happens over time when you start to get good at dealing with this, when you have a strategy for dealing with problems, you don't fear them anymore. And you just recognize that it's, again, part of progress. It's part of success. It's part of what's making you stronger. Resistance is what makes you stronger. Isn't that what working out is all about? We go into the gym, we encounter resistance, it breaks us down and it builds us back stronger. And problems do the same thing as long as you have a strategy. So embrace problems. Don't run from problems. So, the success equation. When we advertised this thing, we said, you know, James Grage is speaking today on the success equation. I don't have the perfect equation for success, for avoiding problems. I'm the guy who's made all the mistakes. I'm the one who's dealt with all the problems. Some of them were my own mistakes, like dropping out of high school. That was a choice that I made. It was a bad choice. Some of them just happened to me, like the car accident. I certainly didn't choose for that to happen, but it happened. That was life, right? But with each and every one of those situations, I took them, I owned them, I embraced them, I learned from them, and they made me better, they made me stronger, and they've gotten me to where I'm at today. So I don't have any regrets about anything that's ever happened to me because it's made me who I am and I like who I am today. So I embrace those things, I embrace those mistakes. And here's what I want to tell you. It's pretty simple. If I can get to where I'm at today, from where I came from, then I promise you anybody else can too. So I thank you for your time. I hope you have a great show here at FitCon. And that's it. I'm out.